Here we are again, and today is January 6th, 2025. And today, the 47th President of the United States was certified to take office on the 20th of January without riots and without violence. Unlike 4 years ago, January 6th, 2020, when the U.S. Capitol was attacked by Trump supporters believing his lies about a rigged election. And to this day, Trump or any of his loyalists have never been able to prove there was election fraud. Even Fox News had to pay almost $1 billion in fines to a company that managed the voting process. And it is something that if you look at today, how peaceful it was, how Vice President Kamala Harris certified the votes, while conservatives, Republicans, and the MAGA cult were sneering and they were gleeful and they were mocking. And you don't have to believe me, you can find it online on comments, even on the Hill and the Capitol. You can see that happening, how they were acting in ways that were unbecoming of people that accept the normal process of a republic moving forward. There were, and I don't want to compare, but it sounded a little bit like children in a playground mocking people that are trying to be right. And they forget that 4 years ago, about 140 Capitol police officers were attacked and injured, some seriously. Some had their eyes gouged out. 4 officers committed suicide in the following month or so because of how overwhelming and awful their experience was. A Trump supporter was killed because she believed in QAnon conspiracies. Ashley Babbitt. And Trumpers and Trump himself tried to blame the police officer or the Democrats when it was something that it was all Trump himself pushing lies for months and months. And people hang on to words that he said maybe once or twice when he said, walk peacefully. I think he said it once in the speech, and maybe he said it in a tweet also. But there all the other times for the past 3 months before the election in 2020, he was telling everyone it's going to be rigged. Fight for your country. It's going to be stolen. Fight like hell. And it wasn't just him. It were his loyalists and followers speaking at the rally and before saying it's going to be trial by combat. And there are people still facing charges today that are not him. He's off the hook because he was elected. But there are people in his circle that are being still prosecuted for crimes that were committed around that time, election 2020. And it seems that it's something that people don't understand to this day. People still are saying, oh no, it was the FBI that made it happen. No. If you say the FBI made it happen, we can say Trump made it happen too. You don't, like you say, you don't make somebody do it unless they want to do it by themselves. That's the argument they use about the defense on Trump instigating a riot. But when they say, oh, the FBI were out there promoting it, pushing it, hey, it's the same thing. You have your own decision, your own rights to do it, and you can walk away or you can come in and break the law. And I'm trying to keep this video short. I don't want to make it more than 5 minutes. But if you're ready to hear some of the truth, and you don't have to believe me, you can get online, go to search engines of your preference. If you don't trust Google or whoever, search on your own and you can find the answers. What happened 4 years ago was a wound in the American system, in our American republic. And this person is in charge again in about 2 weeks. And I'm hoping that Trumpers and conservatives who are moderate, and even liberals or Democrats who voted for him out of frustration with Joe Biden's policies and handling the last 4 years, it doesn't compare to what he did that day. It was a way to deeply hurt what started in 1776. And now people are comparing it to, oh, it's like 1776. And it has to do with a lack of education in the country and a lack of critical thinking and understanding when people are being manipulated and lied to. And all you have to see is the way he has acted constantly. Even today, you can see some of the things that he said today. And it seems something that people just, it flies by them, then they ignore it. And it's something that is very discouraging. And it's not just discouraging, it's about the way the America is going. And people want to blame it on, we got these, trans people. Abortion, they're killing babies. All these exaggerations and lies, trying to make it look like the evil ones, the cabal, the QAnon thinking. I mean, you even had QAnon believers who killed their children in California. Don't believe me, Google it. Or you had somebody else who committed an awful crime because of QAnon conspiracies pushed by Donald J. Trump, which he forwarded on Twitter back in his first term constantly. And if you remember, many of the people in his administration quit that day or the following day, January 6th, January 7th. Many of them quit in response to what happened. And they said, that is not acceptable in our country. And we have today people that condemned him back then, like Senator Mitch McConnell. He said it. He said, you are morally, and technically responsible for what happened on January 6th. We will not convict you on impeachment trial after that. Why? Because he was no longer president at the time he was processed by the Senate. That was a technicality. Oh, we cannot find him guilty because he's no longer president after January 20th. Biden was president by then. When the impeachment process happened in the Senate, many of them didn't do it on that technicality. They said, oh, he's no longer president, so we cannot impeach him because he's no longer president, which it was, you can say is somewhat right, but the core of it is true. He did wrong. And you can see what happened recently in South Korea, where the president tried to declare martial law, and the country and the leaders and their people said, no, you're not going to do that in our country arbitrarily. And now there's an arrest warrant for him. In Brazil, Bolsonaro, who people compared him to Trump as a COVID denying leader of their country, he tried the same thing in 2022. And they said, you cannot run for office again for, I believe it's 8 or 10 years. And he's facing other charges or violations. Not sure what that is. You can Google it and find them. These countries who mirror or emulate and copy the American system acted upon corruption and wrongdoing right away. But no, we're here electing the guy who caused this violation in our history, in our democracy, in our constitutional republic. And people keep buying his second-hand car salesman talk and his manipulation that he's used all his life. And all the charges that he's facing now are gone because he's going to be president. The classified documents that he took from the White House when he wasn't supposed to. There's recordings of him saying that he took the documents, that he acknowledging his own voice in the video. Oh yeah, I took these. I'm not supposed to have them. The fake select group of electors that he put together tried to pass them illegally so he could become a president again. And they said, no, you cannot do that. You got to go through a process. He just wanted to ram through it. And it seems like people idolize that kind of behavior. Like, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to be a tough guy. And the funniest thing is that he's not a tough guy. He skipped the Vietnam War when he was supposed to serve, again, on a lie by his daddy. He got him a doctor note saying, oh, he cannot serve because of this. So he skipped it. But from the 60s to the present now, about 60 years later, now he wants to act like he's the toughest guy. And people believe his con. It is truly sad what's happening in this country. And people are saying, oh no, he wants the best for America. America number one. Make America great again. America first. When he's repeating words that sound almost like Hitler, where he says, let's get this vermin out of our country, and saying words that sound very much like dictators, like he admires Putin. He admires Kim Jong-un, North Korea's dictatorial leader, and other people around the world, but he's attacking our leaders, people that are not his enemies. And yes, there's an argument to say some people don't pay their fair share. Yeah, that's arguable. But still, it doesn't compare to him saying that the Chinese president knows how to handle his country. He has a good control of his country. I mean, what kind of talk is that? It sounds like something that he'd like to do. It's just very disappointing to know that today Kamala Harris, President of the United States, I mean, Vice President of the United States, certify the votes for him to be president in about 2 weeks or so, just like Al Gore did in 2001 with George Bush, just like Richard Nixon did in the early 60s when John Kennedy won. But there seems to be like a gleeful nature going about it, people mocking it and making fun of it online. It's very disrespectful, very immature, very low. Like if you have a sense of being a good person, being a Christian person like Jesus, you will not act like that. You will be like, thank you for conceding. Thank you for running a race against him. Let's welcome him as president. Thank you for your time as vice president, despite differences we may have had. No, people are acting in ways that are totally against the way of, and I don't want to say the way of Jesus, but the way of God and religion, how people are supposed to be good and respect and go move forward and come together. But people are acting like, oh, now you're gonna deal with us. Now you're gonna be dealing with us. Get used to it. It's like, what kind of behavior is this? I mean, what's going on here? I mean, sometimes it seems to be like something that is outside politics. It seems to be something like there's something lacking in life in many of these people. They don't have the intuitive knowledge of goodness and decency and morals because of traumas or past grudges. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where America is going, man, but we're going to see what happens. But just have in mind, today we had a certification for the next president of the United States without violence, without hurting people, without making up lies. We accepted it. We said, come in, you won. Even though it's wrong, because many of the things that he did were completely wrong. Okay, make him president again. We'll take it. Just keep him accountable. Don't move the goalpost. When he doesn't bring the prices down like he said he would, and he already said he's not going to be able to because it's very difficult, please keep him accountable despite your love and devotion for him. And those of you that are middle of the ground, moderates, have the heart and the character to say, hey, we need to call him out if this is going the wrong way. Don't sit there and nod along like a sheep when he's doing things that are completely wrong. Stay clear, because he is not the United States. We are the United States, all of us people, and we hold him accountable. I don't have much faith for those hardcore Trumpers, MAGA cult members who believe he's God sent. No, I don't have patience for that, even though I consider myself a Christian. But you have lost your soul, and America will succumb to failure if you don't hold him accountable. And I'm not telling you this as a threat or imagining. I'm telling you something that is really going to happen. It will happen. You got to stay straight honorable, decent, and don't go for the culture wars. They'll start going like, "Oh, gay people are evil. Oh, that woman had an abortion, even though she's only 14 years old." Come on. Keep your American way of thinking alive and well, despite the corruption of a conman in chief that has fooled so many of you. It makes me think a little bit about Revelations, how false prophets, false leaders will come in the picture and people will support them blindly. An example is him carrying the greatest sin of the deadly sins, which is pride, arrogance. And you know that he is. He's got a big ego. And that doesn't suit well in the eyes of God, because it did not sit well for Lucifer, one of his angels who thought he was greater than God and fell from heaven to hell. You do know that. Pride, arrogance is the greatest and the worst of the deadly sins. And Trump himself has said it. He shows it in his behavior, in his words, in his nature. I've even spoken to Trump supporters who are religious and agree with me. They say, yes, I support him because of abortion, because of gay rights, and this world is going crazy. But they do acknowledge that he's not with God 100%. They only support him because he serves God's purpose, even though he's not of God. And if you can find something in the Bible that shows something like that, and please don't compare him to Paul or Saul, the 13th apostle who turned to God. He turned to God, but he changed. Trump hasn't, and you know it. Anyway, January 6th, 2025, we have a peaceful transfer of power today, which will continue on January 20th. Now, it's not so much up to him because I don't expect him to change at his age. It's you people out there. Are you going to hold him accountable for anything that he does wrong? Like you held Biden accountable, like you held Obama accountable, like you held maybe Bush accountable, and previous presidents. Hold them accountable. Don't move the goalpost. Don't make excuses for him. You need to stand by him, support him, but if he messes up, you got to be there and say, hey, not in America. Not in America. Anyway, I hope I made a somewhat of a point. You can mock it, laugh about it, but I wish you a happy new year, all of you out there. Bless you all. Let me